Welcome to Okaloosa Eye on Crime, and this month's show is packed with some Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers success stories, as well as some unsolved cases that we hope are going to become success stories. We're going to show you how a focus on fitness is benefiting the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office and local taxpayers.
That's right, and you also see the latest electronic crime fighting tool being used in our area. But first we want to talk a little bit about the successes we've had with Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers. And actually, we had a record-breaking number of tips in April of this year. We had more than 165 tips come in, which is by far the most since the inception of the program almost 20 years ago. So thank you to those of you that call in and text the tips and go to the website and submit tips there. And that crime-fighting partnership is helping local law enforcement agencies in cases like this next one.
We shared a deputy's body cam video after he came across a burglary in progress, and that suspect decided to go for a swim in a swamp to try and get away.
288, copy Mississippi 28. Mississippi Uniform Delta 416, PUD 416. How you doing? Not this time. Hey, come talk to me. What's that? Where you stay?
What are you doing?
Turn around, put your hands behind your back.
What?
I will tape you! 288, chase one white male. I'm gonna tape you! I will take you in that water and you will get shocked. You better come here. Right now. Got a white male, white tank top, blue jean shorts, red hair. Just went swimming.
Well, due in large part to Crime Stoppers tips, the OCSO was able to locate that suspect, 24-year-old James Lynn Dubiak, 2 days later, and Dubiak is now charged with car burglary and other crimes.
Yes, thank you to the tipsters, and of course keep them coming. And now let's move on to some new cases you can help us solve. And we're going to start with an armed robbery of a Mariester convenience store. The Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office is investigating a robbery at the Circle K store located at 180 Mariester Boulevard, and this actually happened just a couple of weeks ago in April. The attendant says a white male wearing a yellow hat, tan shorts, and white shirt came in about 1:45 in the morning, made a small purchase. He then demanded money and fled south behind a neighboring business into a wooded area. Now he's described as a thin white male, about 50 to 60 years old, around 5 feet 8 inches tall and 150 pounds, with short, possibly thinning gray hair. Now anybody with information about that robbery, or you can take a look at the pictures if you know who he is, give us a call.
Next up, the Sheriff's Office is searching for a stolen boat and trailer out of Okaloosa County. They are reported stolen on April 19th and were parked at 113 Racetrack Road in the Fort Walton Beach area. They were last seen at this location on April 18th. The trailer was locked and the victim is still in possession of both boat keys. The trailer is a 2012 gray caravan boat trailer with tag BGSR14. And the boat's a 2011 white 17-foot Bayliner bow rider. It's got the blue stripes along the side with a swim platform, and the registration number on that boat is 7773PJ. So if you have any idea where that might have gone, give us a call.
And the Walton County Sheriff's Office is seeking to identify these two men in a fraud investigation. And back on March 26th, they attempted to use 4 different credit cards to complete purchases at the Publix on Grand Boulevard there in Sandestin. Both men are described as white males, about 5'7" to 6 foot, and between 160 and 190 pounds. Now, one of the males was wearing a camouflage jacket and ball cap, and the second man was wearing a brown jacket with cream or light colored ball cap. Anybody with information, give us a call, 863-TIPS.
And you can help out the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office if you've got information about this next one. They're trying to identify this man and woman referenced the theft of 6 fishing rods and reels from the bed of a pickup truck parked in the Destin Walmart back on April 11th. The estimated value of the rods and reels is over $1,100. And they're also suspected of stealing from the Destin Walmart. They loaded the fishing equipment into an unknown make and model white sedan and drove out of the parking lot. The male subject has tattoos on his upper right arm. And so if you've got information on that one, 863-TIPS or EmeraldCoastCrimeStoppers.com.
And the Defuniak Springs Police Department is looking for this man that used a counterfeit American Express traveler's check at a Family Dollar store in Defuniak Springs. Now, similar checks have actually been presented at other stores in the area. The suspect is described as a medium-built black male and was observed wearing a long-sleeve shirt, blue jeans, and black sneakers. He had a goatee, but otherwise unshaven. Anybody with information, you can contact the Defuniak Springs Police Department or, of course, Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers anonymously.
Next up, Sheriff Larry Ashley's decision to implement mandatory physical fitness training for the OCSO is reaping some serious benefits. As deputies increase fitness, they're better able to track down a suspect who's trying to get away on the run, and they're also better able to recover from any on-the-job injuries.
That's right, and taxpayers are also being rewarded due to fewer agency medical claims and health-related costs. Now, see how the focus on fitness translates to nabbing fugitives, saving lives, and more.
Deputy Travis Trapolsky set a record in 2015 on the OCSO's Physical Abilities Testing course, completing the 16 stations in 2 minutes 54 seconds. That's more than 5 minutes under the 8.5 minutes mandatory completion time required to pass what's called the PAT test. Watch him in action.
Quiet, please. We're in the presence of greatness right here.
She does her pack complete.
This effort comes in at exactly 3 minutes, 6 seconds over his prior record-setting performance. A former Marine, Deputy Trapolsky says physical fitness is a critical component of his law enforcement career as well.
I would say it's the single most important thing. Being physically fit. If you look physically fit, people are going to be less likely to see what they can get away with when dealing with you. If you are physically fit, it's going to make critical incidents easier to deal with. You're not going to be as susceptible to the fight or flight and increased heart rate and all the things that you go through with that. And then if you are injured, you're going to have a much faster recovery time if you're physically fit. So all in all, I mean, you can't beat it.
Since Sheriff Larry Ashley first implemented mandatory physical fitness abilities testing in 2011, the agency's sworn officers have been getting faster, stronger, and fitter. On average, completion times on the PAT course have gone down nearly 15%. That increased fitness level pays off with medical claims dropping 57% and costs going down 27%, meaning the focus on fitness is also a big boost for taxpayers.
Twice a year, our deputies have to run through this course, and the course translates to real life. You never know whether you could be sitting for 4 hours and then have to go on a chase. You could be walking around a building, for an hour and then have to go lift something heavy. So there's a variety of things you encounter, and you never know when you have to do that. So the PAT course, what it does is it combines running, lifting, climbing, getting down on the ground and getting back up, balance, agility.
There's evidence of that on a routine basis as deputies are called upon to chase fleeing suspects.
White male, maroon shirt, gray shorts. Sheriff's office, get on the ground! Towards the dealer. Back up here on Santa Rosa. Let me see your hands! Do it now! You're gonna get tased! Get on the ground or you're gonna get tased!
now the Sheriff's Office has also implemented a program called CrossFit Okaloosa, designed to combine high-intensity workouts with functional movements for those who want to go above and beyond.
The Sheriff was kind enough to bless us with the use of some drug seizure money to buy some of our initial equipment. And we got the paperwork done, so we're officially CrossFit Okaloosa, which is a nonprofit law enforcement affiliate for CrossFit headquarters, which is in California. So we're legitimate, and we have coaches. We're growing classes. We're adding more coaches as time goes on to be able to offer more class times to make it more available for people.
And as this focus on fitness becomes the norm, there's this to consider as well: the priceless ability to tackle challenges such as pulling an incapacitated man from a burning car.
Go! 298, we have him out. We have him out.
In law enforcement, having physically fit deputies on the streets can be the difference between life and death in a critical situation.
For example, at 115 beats per minute, when your heart reaches 115 beats per minute, you start to lose control of your fine motor skills, which, I mean, that's your trigger finger, that's being able to keep up the radio, driving. They become more difficult. So if you put yourself at an increased heart rate through intense physical training of whatever you choose to do multiple times a week, it makes it less likely to affect you in a critical incident.
So on virtually every level, from professional effectiveness and efficiency on the job to lower healthcare costs and insurance premiums on the financial side, the OCSO's focus on fitness is paying off in major ways for deputies and taxpayers alike. You know, we want to mention that even some of the civilian personnel at the Sheriff's Office are catching this fitness bug, and they're taking part in, and they have in the past quite a bit for the Team Star runs that are done, the marathons. They're attending CrossFit classes, and they're trying to keep up with the sworn officers, and some of them are doing a pretty good job at that.
That's right. Now, Crime Stoppers has shown how effective citizen involvement can be leading to a safer community for everyone. Now, the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office is using Crime Stoppers information and citizen involvement as the basis for a new electronic crime fighting and public information tool.
Take a look. The Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office has launched a new electronic crime fighting and public information tool that focuses on the type of citizen involvement linked to the successful Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers program. The first Community Protector kiosk is now operational at the Driver's License Bureau of the Okaloosa County Tax Collector's Office in Shalimar. The electronic booth offers 3 zones on the board that can feature wanted criminals, missing people, public service announcements, crime prevention tips, and even weather or public safety alerts.
We just don't have enough deputies to be everywhere, and so our citizens and their eyes and ears, we depend on them to help us do this job.
The OCSO has purchased 10 of these portable kiosks using money from seized funds.
Our Law Enforcement Trust Fund, which is from the Florida Contraband Seizure Acts, we seize money and cars from drug dealers and the like that sell poison to our kids out on the street, but there's no tax dollars involved in this.
By putting the kiosks in areas with a lot of foot traffic, more eyes are exposed to important crime prevention information and to the faces of wanted fugitives that we want off our streets. It's a public safety partnership that can really pay off.
I just talked to Sheriff Morgan from Escambia County, and he said that his Crime Stopper tips increased 60% since putting these kiosks in various locations in Escambia County. And so we anticipate that our Crime Stoppers tips will be increasing just because more people will see those wanted individuals that they may know or have some acquaintance with, and they'll have the ability to see them and know how to contact us.
Additional kiosks will be located at area businesses, at other tax collectors' offices in Niceville, Crestview, and Destin, and at the courthouse annex in South Okaloosa County. And because they're portable, others can be transported to various community events and functions as well. Our next story showcases a 4-legged crime-fighting resource, and that is Canine Body.
Yep, and he got a chance to take a bite out of cancer during a pep rally to celebrate Elliott Point Elementary's successful fundraising campaign for Relay for Life. The students and staff brought in more than $6,600, and School Resource Officer Deputy Jason Foley got to play the role of Cancer, the victim of Body's wrath.
Remember, quietly, please.
I'm Cancer! Yeah! I won't scare you! I'm not!
Now, Nicole and I always get caught up with the canines, but we do want to mention that that's Deputy Elliot Howard that's also helping out there along with his dog, Canine Body. And now we're going to move on to some fugitives.
That's right, and a new face to the show is Jeremy Antonio Blackshear. He's 41 years old. He's wanted for violation of probation for home invasion robbery, last known to live in Fort Walton Beach.
Trying to track down Edward Lamont Fountain, 36 years old, wanted for failing to appear on carrying a concealed weapon, possession of a weapon and ammo by convicted felon, possession of a controlled substance and narcotics equipment, and driving with a license while suspended or revoked. His last known address was on Wilson Street in Crestview. Austin Gregory, I don't know if that's Goose, whatever, G-U-I-C-E, 40-year-old white male wanted by Defuniak Springs Police Department for aggravated battery with a firearm. He's a suspect in a drive-by shooting that took place on February 29th. That was in the area of Woodward Avenue and Michigan Street, and around 10:20 a.m. on February 29th.
Bart Storm McDonald was last known to live in Crestview, and he's wanted for violation of probation for burglary and grand theft, as well as failure to appear for fraud and vehicle theft.
And we were talking about success stories. Here's one. Essex David Allison has been captured thanks to a tip.
But we're still looking for Noah Gabrielle Horton, who's 35 years old, and he's wanted for violation of probation for sale, manufacture, delivery of narcotics, possession of a controlled substance, and obstructing a criminal investigation. Now, he was last known to live on Forsman Circle over in Fort Walton Beach.
And Keenan Jamal Bogan was last known to live on 7th Avenue in Shalimar. He's wanted for violating probation on possession of controlled substance and possession of drug paraphernalia, as well as a charge of misdemeanor battery.
Sean Oliver Rollett Jr., who's wanted by the Fort Walton Beach Police Department for grand theft, dealing in stolen property, and fraud, last known to live on 2nd Street in Fort Walton Beach.
Last known address for Jeremy Scott Francis was Pine Street in Niceville. Francis is wanted for violating probation on charges of grand theft and possession of controlled substance, as well as non-payment of child support.
And 42-year-old Sherry Ann Horner is wanted for violation of probation for felony battery, and she was last known to live on Green Street in Fort Walton Beach.
Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers also looking for Thomas J. Tucker, wanted for VOP grand theft. Last known address for Tucker was in Panama City Beach.
And some more good news. Christopher Dwight Cole, who was wanted for failure to register as a sexual offender, has been located and arrested since our last show. Next month, we will be featuring some segments outlining local memorial events to honor 2015 fallen officer, including OCSO Deputy Bill Myers.
That's right, and recently Sheriff Larry Ashley was asked to be the featured speaker. It was the 34th annual FOP Law Enforcement Memorial Ceremony that took place on the steps of the old Capitol in Tallahassee. Now, you can catch the entire speech. We posted on the OCSO YouTube page, but we wanted to share with you at least a portion of his words to the families and friends of law enforcement officers killed in the line of duty, as well as to his counterparts who hold the line.
Please welcome Sheriff Larry Ashley.
But we're gathered here to remember those who served their community and sacrificed their lives for the love of their families, neighbors, and others. I remember my friends, Tony, and Bert, and Skip, and I remember Bill, so new a wound to me. But to all of us, to all our communities, to all our family members who have sacrificed. They sacrificed their will, their desires and hopes, and if necessary, even their lives. But why? Scripture says that greater love hath no man than this, that he may lay down his life for his friends. And we gather today to recognize and honor those who have sacrificed their lives for service, for love of law and order, and for their communities. We memorialize these sacrifices knowing that we don't live into ourselves alone and we don't die into ourselves alone. Let us remember the sacrifices that our families have paid and the hurt that continues to grow there now. Be there for them as their family. Let me tell you why I believe we should remember these men and women who gave up their lives in defense of our laws, our values, and our communities. It's because they represented us on this thin blue line. They served on this line. They stood between us and evil on this line. They provided us with peace on our side of this line, and they were the best of us. It's because when they were attacked, it was an attack on all of us who they represent and serve. It was an attack on their families and the good people of this community and this state. Today we memorialize these sacrifices of those standing on that line for us. Let those taken from us while we're standing firm on line be our testament now. Let these lives sacrificed be the light in the darkness that causes us to remember our calling, our oath, our authority, and our choices. And if even none go with us, let our light shine eternal against the dark forever. Let our banner be, here am I, send me.
Now, Ocala Police Department Officer Jared Forsyth was also killed on the job in 2015. He and Deputy Myers were two of 123 fallen officers from across the country. You can help our law enforcement officers hold the line on crime by notifying agencies when you see something suspicious and by contacting them if you know where any suspects or fugitives may be hiding out.
And speaking of that, now we're going to go to our third and final rundown on some of those wanted individuals. We've got Jordan Christopher Reeves, wanted by the Sheriff's Office in Okaloosa County for the murder of Timothy Stalker Jr. in the parking lot of a nightclub on Okaloosa Island. That murder took place back on August 9th, and Reeves is also wanted by the Orange County Sheriff's Office for attempted murder. His last known address was in Crestview.
And both the Okaloosa and Walton County Sheriff's Offices are looking for 32-year-old Joseph Donald Baxter, and he is wanted for fraud charges, last known to live out in Miramar Beach.
Next case involves domestic violence, strangulation, and aggravated battery. George Monroe Emmerich II, wanted by the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office for violating probation on those charges.
Robert Lee Thompson is wanted by the Walton County Sheriff's Office for burglary, and he may possibly be staying in the Panama City Beach area.
And contact Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers if you know where to find Ivan Baramov, who's 24 years old. He's wanted by the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office for violating probation on grand theft charge. His last known address was Plough Avenue in Shalimar.
32-year-old Alexis Wilmer Mondragon, he's wanted for sexual battery, sex offense against a child, and lewd and lascivious molestation. He was last known to live on Spencer Drive in Fort Walton Beach.
And the Walton County Sheriff's Office is trying to locate Brittany Linnell Sanders. She's wanted for VOP on creating, using, or possessing counterfeit credit cards with intent to use counterfeit information.
And next up is 36-year-old Justice Thomas Parks, who's wanted for burglary, criminal mischief, and misdemeanor violation of probation for driving without a license.
The Walton County Sheriff's Office is also looking for Troy Clayton Gavin, wanted for failing to register as a sexual offender.
William James Barcheski, who's last known to live on Rainbow Drive in Fort Walton Beach, is wanted for resisting arrest with violence and trespassing.
Also, Robert Lee Hutton, wanted by Walton County for violating probation on a charge of battery on a law enforcement officer. Last known address was in Freeport.
And this is a familiar face to the show. Michael Scott Laravide, who's 33 years old. He's wanted for violation of probation for possession of a controlled substance, possession of marijuana, and possession of drug paraphernalia. Last known to live on Miracle Strip Parkway in Fort Walton Beach.
And moving back over to Walton County for this one, Joshua James Picard, wanted for violating probation on charges of possession with intent to sell or manufacture controlled substance, possession of marijuana, and possession of paraphernalia.
And 27-year-old Audrey Shea Pendarvis, I assume that's how you say that, is wanted for violation of probation for DUI and also for failure to appear on bail.
And here's one from the Fort Walton Beach Police Department. Juan Ramon Marquez, wanted for trafficking in stolen property. Marquez was last known to live over on Jonquil Avenue in Fort Walton Beach.
And the Walton County Sheriff's Office is looking for Ronald Wesley Lewis for aggravated stalking.
And looking for Roderick James Rudderson Jr., wanted for possession of synthetic narcotics within 1,000 feet of a school and failure to appear on a driving with a license that was suspended or revoked. Rudderson's last known address was Mooney Road in Fort Walton Beach.
Next up is Mark Robert Fitzgerald, who's wanted by the Walton County Sheriff's Office for grand theft and contracting without a license, last known to live out in Santa Rosa Beach.
And that agency is also looking for Edward J. Stanley, wanted for failing to appear on multiple counts of uttering a forged instrument as well as grand theft.
29-year-old Charles Keith Wallace is wanted for possession of a controlled substance without a prescription.
And here's a name that's still familiar. Everett Hairston's been on for a while, wanted by the Walton County Sheriff's Office for violating probation on a charge of grand theft auto.
32-year-old Emmanuel Uribe Martinez is wanted for violation of probation on the original charge of resisting an officer with violence and loitering and prowling.
And here's another one for grand theft auto. It's Eric Arsenault, last known address Walton County.
Jerome Williams, who's last known to live over in Walton County, is wanted for violation of probation for grand theft, giving a false name to law enforcement, and theft.
And contact Crime Stoppers if you know where to find Jason Michael Oliver. Oliver's wanted for VOP on charges of grand theft and uttering a forged check.
And the Fort Walton Beach Police Department is looking for 45-year-old John Henry Bonner for grand theft and violation of a Pawnbrokers Act and non-payment of child support.
And we keep coming back to Daniel Wesley Arthur. Really want to find him because he's wanted for felony neglect of an elderly or disabled adult without causing great bodily harm, possession of a controlled substance, and theft.
And last but certainly not least is Samuel Edward Thomas III, who's wanted for violation of probation for providing false information to a pawnbroker, false imprisonment, and grand theft, and he was last known to live in Shalimar.
And you know, this show we've been focusing a lot on success stories and Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers success stories. Now we're going to talk about the crawfish boil, which was another huge success.
That's right. We had our annual fundraiser back on April 23rd there at Uptown Station in Fort Walton Beach, and it seems that every single year it has just grown leaps and bounds. And this year we sold almost 1,500 pounds of crawfish, and at the end of the day it's going to be more than a $16,000 profit. So thank you to everyone who came out. We do want to also mention this was the first year that we had the 5K Mud Bug Run, which benefited the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office Explorers, and for their very first run ever they had almost 300 runners turn out for the event. So we'll definitely be adding that again next year as well. But I do want to say a special thank you to our sponsors this year of the event. Of course, our big Mac Daddy sponsor, which was Emerald Coast Funeral Home. This is like the 4th or 5th year they have been on board, and they're always a big supporter of Crime Stoppers. Of course, the Okaloosa and Walton County Sheriff's Office, Coastal Bank and Trust, Matt Gates, Crestview Technology Air Park, the Cope Center, Family Eye Care, the Fraternal Order of Police, Nicholson, Reeder, and Reynolds, Wind Creek Casino, Premier Paint and Body Works, and Resort Quest, and take a look at them all there. We can't thank you enough. It's because of you out there in the community that Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers is such a huge success in our area.